Morning folks. Decided to jog up the hill towards the church for the warm-up this morning. I'm out at about 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, so I'm hoping there's not going to be too much traffic. There's definitely always some. So in today's video I've got two main things to talk about. Number one is the Chinese super shoes I'm wearing. I'll let you know my thoughts on those and see how they cope with today's long run. Should be about 14 kilometers if I've remembered how this route goes and the details properly. And the second thing is why next week I'm tapering with a big event at the weekend that I'm looking forward to. So let's start with the shoes. I've already set my parkrun PB in them, 21:23 at Rother Valley, 3 weeks ago now. I've only done a handful of runs in them so far, so I'm seeing how they do on this long run today. And they are the Qiaodan Feiying Plaid 1.5. And I'll start by telling you how I came to get them. There's a bit of a story there. So you know how I like to get my shoes from Vinted a lot of the time, usually with one careful owner and less than half the price of a new pair. Well, prior to these ones I never had any of the Chinese shoes that are so popular at the moment, so I did a bit of a search on there and there were hardly any, surprisingly. I guess people are hanging on to them and using them. But there was one pair that came up, didn't know anything about them, and it was the Qiaodan, Qiaodan Feiying Plaid 1.5. So I put the little heart on them on Vinted to favourite them so I could come back to them at another point. Then I went away to Google them and see what I could find out. One thing I always forget about Vinted is that when you tap the heart on an item to favourite it so you can watch it, not only does it put it on your list and let the seller know that someone's favorited it, it also gives the seller your exact details and a method for messaging you so they can start negotiating. So I wasn't quite prepared for that. So not long later I had a message came into my emails via Vinted from the seller asking, "Is that you, Mark G, the test run?" Which is the last thing I expected on a Vinted message, but it has a picture of my face as my profile picture and my name is Mark G as it usually is. So the seller had recognised me from YouTube and Strava and messaged me about the shoes he was selling, which is a very pleasant surprise. I was mildly shocked to have been recognised in that way. So we proceeded to have a bit of a chat back and forth where I confirmed it was me and the seller kindly offered to do them me at a good discount seeing as it was me, which I thought was awesome. The shoes were already cheap at under £40 when they're over 100 new, and they only had somewhere in the region of 50 kilometers of running in them. But with my current budget I probably would have just watched them and not gone for it if it wasn't for those two things: the seller knowing me and offering me a discount. After that I couldn't refuse. And I'm very, very glad that I went for it. So we ended up agreeing on a price of $19.99, can you believe it? So even though initially I hadn't actually been thinking of buying shoes, I was just nosing about on Vinted to see if they had any Chinese shoes and which ones were on there, what kind of price they were going at. Just being nosy while I was bored. Even I couldn't refuse an offer that good, and I can always manage £20 for a pair of amazing running shoes. So if you do happen to see Hedge Donkey hanging around in the comments, be sure to tell him how awesome he is. Thanks for the deal, mate. So just reached Morton, the official unofficial centre of England. You may have seen me collecting the shoes from the parcel locker in a previous video, and I've done several runs in them since then, including the parkrun PB. So let's have a chat about what they're like. A few points I did already mention as I was doing the parkrun in them at mill houses recently, and one thing I've noticed is that they seem to have quite a wide landing platform. It just makes them feel nice and stable, slightly more stable than the Puma DV8 Nitro Elite 3s, which I really love. So I imagine these are a few grams heavier, just based on that extra size. And the rocker action, even when I'm just plodding along on a long run like this, just seems to get the legs turning over nicely. And that's something I really appreciate, and I think I'll look out for in future shoes as well. From what I can gather, they've got 2 layers of foam. There's the nice squishy layer on top for maximum comfort, and then a firmer responsive layer underneath that, which also has the carbon plate within it. For me and the type of feet I have, they seem to fit perfectly. Last time I measured the width of my feet on the ABCDE scale, my width measurement at the widest point was 1 mil under C, which I suppose puts me in the right in the middle. Average width feet, erring towards slightly narrow. Almost every pair of running shoes I own is in a size 9. Same goes for these, and lengthwise they're just right. They just feel so comfy. I could forget I had them on if I wasn't talking about them the whole time. So you need to remember, I don't have many things that you might call super shoes to compare these to. The DV8 Nitro Elite 3s are probably my closest thing, and those Pumas, it feels like they have a kind of oval shaped landing platform under the heel, and a little bridge to the front part, and then a bigger oval landing section there, whereas these feel more like a slightly wider all the way round, kind of one big landing platform, even though it does have a cutout in the side to save weight on the outside. I think the version 1, the cutout was on the medial side of the shoe, which prompted people to roll in a bit more. So now they've moved the cutout to the outside, so you're still saving the weight, it's just you've got that medial support to help stop you from overpronating. Seems to be working well. I may be having a brain fart moment, but I'm going to check which shoes I actually did the Rother Valley run in. Can't remember now whether it was the Pumas or these. Oh dear. Come on brain, you can do it. So, suffice to say, I'm very happy with the shoes. Done just about 8k now, and to be honest, since I picked the camera up, I've barely been thinking about the action of running itself. But here we are, 8k in. Amazing how chatting makes the time go by, even when there's nobody else to talk to. So, as I run up the hill from Morton to Tibshelf, in a gap in the traffic, let's start talking about today's second topic for discussion, which is tapering next week and the big challenge I've got going on Saturday. So, as many of you will have seen, I've started a series of I ran home from videos where I started getting the bus to somewhere local, another town or village, and then I let Komoot, the navigation app, plot a route from where I ended up back to where I started at the original bus stop. And the rules are, I just follow whichever route it comes up with. I don't add any waypoints, I don't deviate on the day, I just follow that route that gets me from A to B, however Komoot thinks I should. And with each successive challenge in each video, I've decided on a village or town that's further away than the previous one. The last one I did was I ran home from Bakewell, which is about 26 kilometres. Doesn't sound huge in distance, but Bakewell in the Peak District leaves you with a lot of climbing to do on the way back to Chesterfield. and lots of routes that don't seem to get used very much, and certainly ones that I wasn't familiar with, so that made it a real challenge. So the plan for next Saturday as things stand, and I'm not averse to changing the plans if my legs don't feel up to it on the day, so I'm making sure I manage the fatigue and soreness as well as I can at the moment and ongoing. But the plan for Saturday is to do Iran home from Sheffield. So it's the first, possibly only, city that I've run back from, and the first time where I'll be not only getting a bus into Chesterfield, but also a train from there to Sheffield, and then running all the way back home from Sheffield railway station. So there'll be lots and lots of parts that I am not familiar with at all, running out from the centre of Sheffield towards the band of countryside between there and Chesterfield. So lots and lots of effectively exploring, finding my way on new routes using the commute guidance, and yeah, lots of a mixture of urban and countryside exploring, until eventually I get somewhere nearer home and hopefully start to recognise some places. But yeah, 35 kilometres is going to be the longest run I've done since the Ultra at the first week of May. Hopefully I'm up to it. I won't be in a rush. I'll be running and walking, trying not to get lost and having fun. Always a relief to get to this part of the route. Almost reached the church there, top of the hill through the village of Tibshelf. Now I'm onto the 5-pitch trail, just this tiny climb to do, and then it's a lot of downhill. So I'm almost 11k in to what should be about 14 kilometres, depending how well I remembered this route, and that should just tip me over 40 kilometres for the week, which is perfect. So I'll put the stats up on the screen. Thanks again for watching this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.